He was clearly an S-class hunter who saved the world, yet now humanity had cruelly abandoned him. Not only did he not receive the treatment he deserved, he was even mercilessly thrown into an alien battle. Though he ultimately died miserably on the battlefield, he somehow turned back into a human. It turned out he was originally an orphan named Kwon Do-won. After being kidnapped, he was sold to a research and then became a test subject. As for this research institute, it was established by humanity to fight against demons. Unfortunately, he was born into a demon world. Demons kept pouring out from cracks in space-time. In order to survive, the small number of humans awakened special abilities and became demon hunters. However, there were simply too few people with special powers. Wanting to fight that massive demon army was utterly impossible. Luckily, thanks to this research, and humanity was able to survive. The researchers constantly experimented on death and animal corpses, thus creating artificial life forms. Chimera hunters. The experimental materials were used and monster cells. This cooperation between science and supernatural powers not only gained new combat power, but also lowered the hunter's death rate. After Kwon Do-won was injected with Nazca, violent mutant cells, he also displayed special ability, yet he still maintained a human appearance and self-awareness. This made the scientists conclude that he had a special constitution, so they kept injecting things into him and suppressing him with new substance. Every experiment changed the structure of his body. Just like that, he became the strongest S-class hunter in the world, and wiped out countless monsters for humanity. But later on, something went wrong with his consciousness. Faced with this phenomenon, the researchers were not worried at all. Instead, they were overjoyed, because side effects had finally appeared in him, which meant they could begin the next phase of research. After that, he was injected with over 5,000 kinds of cells, and his appearance also turned monstrous. The following overloaded battles left his body battered beyond recognition, but he did not receive proper treatment, because the institute determined that he no longer had any value, so he was cruelly thrown into the alien battlefield. There, he used his broken body to face countless monsters, while the human hunter only had to deal with a few fish that slipped through the net. Even more outrageous was that when the space-time gate was about to close, humanity left him there all alone. In the end, he perished together with countless monsters, but because of that, he turned back into a human. Not only did he retain the abilities of a chimera, even the experiment number on his wrist was gone. This meant he was no longer a test subject. Being clever, he quickly realized his resurrection must have something to do with those creature cells. As long as his core was not destroyed, he could still revive 3 more times. Besides, he could also feel that his body was in peak condition. Perhaps it was because the side effects had been removed, and that was not all. The commands originally carved in to prevent escape and resistance had all disappeared. However, after gaining a new life, he did not choose revenge. Instead, he chose to live as a human in the demon realm. He looked at the sunset in the distance as if it were saying his past life as a test subject had finally. Thinking of this, he suddenly realized he was still completely naked, so he began searching for materials to make clothes. Soon, he arrived at a forest. There, he discovered the corpse of a giant bird, so he transformed his right arm into a sharp butcher knife. Then, using the anatomy knowledge he learned at the institute, he planned to peel off its feathers and hide. However, the moment he started, purple poisonous gas burst out from the giant bird's body. But luckily, he had already been through all kinds of experiments, so the poisonous gas had no effect. Soon, he peeled off the entire hide. But after washing it clean, he discovered this hide was stiff beyond belief, but he quickly thought of a solution. He gave the hide a proper beating, and before long, it became soft and comfortable. After he handled it simply, the hide had openings and even a collar. But the moment he put it on, the giant bird behind him suddenly cried out. He was a little confused. Wasn't he dead? How could it still squawk? Looks like this fellow was an undead one. If he were still a hunter, he would definitely kill it again without hesitation. But thinking that it was just like him, having gained a second life, he did not strike. Cherish this hard-won rebirth well. If fate allows, we will meet again. After saying that, he turned and left. He needed to find a place he could live in long term. As he walked, he arrived at a cave. But the moment he entered, he ran into a huge scent for Kwon Do-won, who still retained his chimera hunter abilities. This was simply a piece of cake. After taking care of the centipede, he still felt this place was too dark, so he came to a world of ice and snow. Several corpses of snowy beasts lay there. It looked like they had starved to death from lack of food. So this place was unsuitable to it. Next, this place was too smelly. This place was too damp. This place was too hot. Just like that, he arrived at a lake. Not only did this place have clear mountains, it also had plenty of fish. Although they were all piranhas, they would still taste delicious once roasted, so he decided to build a house here. Since he was going to build a house, he first had to find a flat open space. Soon, he found a pretty good spot. But not long after he left, a space-time gate appeared on the open ground. Before long, something rushed out of the portal. From inside, only after the dust settled did they see it was a robot. So this is the demon realm. The next day, Kwon Do-won came to the forest. He needed to prepare timber for building his house. He pointed lightly with his hand, and a beam of light suddenly appeared. Next second, all the trees were cut down. That was way faster than Ludwig. Then he began construction without stopping. Driving piles and laying the with no nails. He used mucus secreted by snails. This made it not only tight and warm but also waterproof. Just like that, it did not take long for his house to be completed, but he still felt something was missing. He remembered what the Institute's educational channel. Ordinary human courtyards usually kept pets or potted plants. Raising a dog in the demon realm was obvious, so he might as well plant something. Thinking of this, he immediately thought of the nearby snowy mountain. There were large amounts of mandrake grass there. Soon, he arrived at the snowy. Looking at the snowflakes filling, he once again remembered the scene of his kidnapping. It had also been snowing this heavily, but thinking about it another way, if he had not been kidnapped, he might have died in that winter already. So becoming a Chimera hunter was not entirely a bad thing. At least he no longer had to worry about food. As he walked on, he arrived where the mandrake grass grew. The demonic energy here was the growing environment mandrake grass loved most. Although they belonged to the monster race, they were extremely fragile. Even the slightest environmental change could cause them to die. So if he wanted to transplant them to his home, he had to select individuals with stronger adaptability. However, when he pulled up a mandrake grass, he found they did not let out an ear-piercing scream, but were talking in their sleep instead. But as everyone knows, mandrake grass screams when under stress, and then dies. This was discovered by humans during artificial cultivation, so he guessed it was not because of the demon realm messed him up, or because they had mistaken him for one of their own. After all, he had also been injected with mandrake grass cells. Without hesitating too much, he picked a few that looked healthier, and tucked them at his waist. Then he set off on the road back. On the way, he began thinking about uses for mandrake grass. The roots could be used for tea. The fruits could serve as snacks. As he kept thinking, he noticed there seemed to be a hunter's aura nearby, but he could not understand. Hunters, why would they appear in this frozen wasteland? He decided to go forward and investigate and conveniently take some gate stones from them. When he got closer, it turned out several hunters had been attacked by snow rabbits. Facing the snow rabbits charging toward the hunters could only raise shields to defend them. However, more and more snow rabbits and the shields began to fail. With a crisp cracking sound, the shields instantly shattered into pieces. At this critical moment, Kwon Do-won descended from the sky at high speed. A deafening roar drew everyone's attention. But the moment Kwon Do-won walked out of the smoke and dust, the snow rabbits were frightened until they trembled. Then they began fleeing in every direction. This left the hunters utterly shocked. How was that possible? Rank monsters actually turned and ran when they saw. After confirming they were safe, they began thanking Kwon Do-won for saving their lives. After a round of self-introductions, one hunter looked at Kwon Do-won's outfit and began wildly imagining things. Could he be some kind of reclusive hunter? At this moment, Kwon Do-won asked, "Why did you come here?" As D-rank hunters, do you not know how dangerous this place is? The hunters answered that it was for the reward. It turned out they had accepted a bounty to capture a chimera. Kwon Do-won immediately felt something. Oh no, this wasn't he himself a chimera. But what the hunter said next eased his worries. It turned out there was a mechanic creature that had escaped from the research institute. While fleeing, it happened to run into a portal and was then transported here. Hearing this, Kwon Do-won asked another question. "I do not see any gate stones on you. Do you have other teammates then?" The moment they heard this, the hunters' faces filled with regret and helplessness. It turned out they had been tricked by a group of secret hunters. Not only had they taken the reward, they had also taken the gate stone. The two hunters also said they had reached their limit, and asked Kwon Do-won if there was any other way to return to the human world. After all, staying here too long would contaminate them with the amount of time hunters could stay in the demon realm was divided. According to Ray, if they could not return to the human world in time to purify, they would die here. But before the two could finish speaking, Kwon Do-won sensed a familiar aura. He instantly sprang up from the ground, leaving the two to enjoy their romantic alone time. At the same time, the robot that appeared last time was standing on the edge of a cliff, but it did not know the hunters had already found it. By the time it realized, a fierce battle was already unavoidable. By the time Kwon Do-won arrived, the battle was already over. Seeing equipment scattered all over the ground, the hunters had probably been defeated. He soon discovered there were not only animal footprints on the ground, but also the footprints of a child. He thought back to the mechanical creature those two hunters mentioned. Could it have changed form during the battle? Mechanical test subjects were generally made metal, so they could freely change their form, but because the material was extremely rare, they could only reach the size of a child or a pet dog. Yet it was actually able to defeat 5 secret hunters at once. Truly unbelievable. Meanwhile, the two hunters enjoying their private little world had already shown side effects from demonic contamination just when they thought they were done for. Kwon Do-won came back. The hunter in slightly better condition dropped to his and took out all the money he had, begging to exchange it for one gate stone. Kwon Do-won felt that although money was useless here, it would still be useful if he returned to the human world, so he agreed to the trade. After opening the portal, the hunters said they dared not stay any longer. If they rushed back now, there might still be hope. Hearing this, Kwon Do-won felt he had taken too much money, so he decided to give them another gift. After saying that, he placed his hand on the dying hunter and began injecting magic power into his body. The hunter was shocked. Injecting magic power like that was something even some rank hunters were unwilling to do if their magic powers clashed or tangled together, and the core was destroyed. Both of them would die. Fortunately, it was scary, but demonic energy in the dying hunter was successfully purified. The hunter who had just walked past death's door was extreme. After the two thanked Kwon Do-won for saving their lives, they left, and Kwon Do-won also returned home. The first thing he did after getting home was plant the brought-back mandrake grass, but he found they looked a little wilted. He guessed it might be because their environment had changed, so he injected some magic power into the soil. Sure enough, the mandrake grass immediately regained its fight. With that worry gone, he turned to leave, but he discovered a pair of eyes behind him was staring at him. It turned out to be the mechanical creature hunted by the hunter, but he felt it had nothing to do with him, so he stayed out of it and simply ignored it. Just like that, after returning inside, he began organizing the bags he had looted from the battlefield. Most of what was inside was wilderness survival equipment, but he soon discovered a pack of instant noodles inside. These were the exact instant noodles at the orphanage when he then lunch would be instant noodles. Cooking instant noodles needed some toppings after, for example, sea eggs, scallions, and the like. For fish, he would use piranhas instead. No eggs. Then bird eggs would do. No scallions. Then tree leaves were basically the same. Just like that, everything was ready. He started the pot and lit the fire, then put in the instant. Before long, the instant noodles gave off the aroma of dark cuisine. The mandrake grass smelled it and vomited on the spot. Yet that very smell made the mechanical creature drool non-stop. So it turned into a puppy and came over to beg for food because it knew humans had compassion. But little did it know, Kwon Do-won had seen through everything. Still, he did not expose. Instead, one man and one dog ate as he kept eating. The taste of the noodles reminded him of the past. How nostalgic. After eating and drinking, he began urging the puppy to go home. Looking at the puppy as departing back, he could not help teasing it again. Wasn't it your left leg that was lame when you first came? The puppy was instantly startled, then switched back to limping with its right leg. The next day, Kwon Do-won came to the riverside to wash the clothes he had picked up earlier. He kept chanting to himself not to use too much, but in the end, he still hammered the clothes into rags, leaving him with only one set of clothes. Amid the awkwardness, he discovered that mechanical creature again. This time, it had turned into a rock. He could not understand why this little thing kept following him. Earlier, when he washed dishes, it turned into a foot. When he went for a walk, it turned into a when it saw him being stung by bees, it instantly after eliminating the danger, it awkwardly left. It looks like this thing only had the intelligence of a child. It was probably a side effect left from the fusion. Before long, Kwon Do-won had carefully washed his only good piece of he cautiously hung it on the rope to dry. However, not long after he hung it up and left, the mechanical creature appeared there. then took the still damp clothes and put them on itself. Then it transformed into the appearance of a little girl, muttering, "Now I look like a human." The next day, Kwon Do-won came to check on his mandrake grass again, but he could not understand why the mandrake grass had become so listless. He had clearly already pulled out all the weeds around them, but he quickly discovered the problem. There were bugs underground. Without hesitation, he quickly cleared out all the bugs. The mandrake grass also became happy again. After finishing, he was even preparing to make a small vegetable garden here. But just then, the little girl suddenly appeared here. Kwon Do-won was a little puzzled. Why had it turned into a little girl this time? So he decided to tease her. "Excuse me, is this your house?" "Yes." "Then you must be a native here." "That's right. Which tribe are you from?" "Tribe?" Now the little girl was in trouble. She had no idea what tribes there were. In a panic, she pointed into the distance and she came from somewhere very far away. So far away it could not be found. When Kwon Do-won heard this, he simply played along. "If it is that far, it must be the coconut tribe." Hearing this, the little girl nodded so hard her head left. Yes, I am from the coconut tribe, but the clothes you are wearing seem to be mine. We have an unwritten rule. Whatever someone picks up on the road belongs to them." "Fine, then it is yours now." After arguing for a bit, Kwon Do-won asked why she had come here. The little girl stammered and lied, saying she had been driven out by and begged him to take her in, after learning she only wanted a place to stay. Kwon Do-won decided to take her in too, but she would need to help with odd jobs. Hearing that she had been accepted, the little girl grinned so wide it nearly reached the. Without another word, she grabbed a lonely wooden stick and started digging like a mad. Seeing her working so diligently, Kwon Do-won suddenly remembered he had not asked her name. After asking, he learned the girl's name was Janali. Before long, the girl opened up a patch of land around the mandrake grass. The mandrake grass was so happy they bounced out of the soil. But at this moment, Janali started crying. Kwon Do-won was confused and was just about to ask, when she was frightened by a roar from afar and dropped flat to the ground. Seeing this, Kwon Do quickly explained that was only the sound of monsters chasing each other. There was no need to be afraid. Hearing this, Janali said while trembling. Before she came, she saw several monsters attacking a little bird. The little bird looked very miserable, as if it had been bitten. After that, Kwon Do-won asked if she wanted to save that little bird, but after hearing this, Janali painfully clutched her head, saying she had no way to save it. Kwon Do-won guessed it was a problem with her brainwashing command, but when he crouched down and asked whether she needed help, Janali suddenly acted as if nothing had happened, then leapt away. Meanwhile, several monsters were rapidly closing in on the little bird. At this critical moment, Janali appeared just in time. "Do not be afraid. I am here to save you." Her eyes were full of tears and her mind was filled with memories of the back then, because she ranked first in every ranking battle. The other companions thought that as long as she was sooner or later, it would be used in experiments with extremely high fill, so they began rejecting and bullying her. Thinking of this, she vented all her anger on the monsters. Meanwhile, Kwon Do-won was transferring magic power to the mandrake, but unexpectedly, the next Janali appeared behind him. She tearfully held Uncle Chick in her arms. "What should I do? The little bird still has not woken up. It cannot be dead, right?" But when Kwon Do-won clearly saw the little bird appear, his heart skipped a beat. Why did this little bird seem like something before? Although he could not quite remember, he still lent a helping hand. He used magic power to scan its entire body and found no fatal injuries. Every monster's demonic energy had its own unique mark, similar to a human fingerprint. Although its size and color had changed, he could still confirm this was the undead bird he had skinned back then. But what puzzled him was, how had it suddenly become so small? Could its regeneration method be different from his own? Seeing Kwon Do-won fall into deep thought, Janali started worrying again. "How is it? Is it really going to die?" Kwon Do-won shook his head and said no, it should just have low blood sugar from malnutrition. I have already transferred magic power to it. It should wake up in a while. After hearing this, Janali's nose stung again because she had been caught in the rain. She wanted to hold an umbrella for others, so she made a request. She wanted to keep this little bird here, and said she would take good care of it, and even train it to be obedient. After hearing this, Kwon Do-won nodded and sat as the vegetable field just happened to need a guard. Before long, the little bird woke up from its coma. But the moment it opened its eyes, it froze on the spot. Because in front of it was the guy who had skinned it back then. But before it could react, Janali happily lifted it up. It could only desperately flap its wings and scream in rough bird language, "Hurry up and let me go." Kwon Duan at the side was also surprised to discover that he could actually understand bird language. Soon, Janali tied the little bird up tightly and bandaged it, and gave it a name, Goo-goo, because it was always going goo-goo. Hearing this, the little bird immediately objected, and kept goo-gooing non-stop, but Janali could not understand at all and thought it was thirsty, so she directly poured a whole basin of water. Soon, the little bird drank, until its belly was swollen. Kwon Duan was speechless about this too. At the same time, he also there would definitely be more and more things in the so he decided to make a storage jar. After thinking it over, he got to work before he had even used much straw. The wood snapped directly in half, which left him very confused. At this moment, Goo-goo on the table told him, every tree has a different color, and their hardness differs accordingly. That one just now was softwood. Kwon Duan suddenly understood it after hearing, then which color of wood is sturdier? Of course, red, Goo-goo blurted out. But it immediately noticed something was wrong. How can he understand what I am saying? To verify whether it was true, it decided to use telepathy. But the moment it sent it out, he immediately blocked it. With no other choice, it could only start testing him with questions. Can you understand me when I talk? After hearing this, Kwon Duan gave a detailed explanation. It is not really hearing. It is more like those words appear directly inside my mind. But compared with that, a monster, understanding human speech is even stranger, is it not? Goo-goo felt a little embarrassed and did not know how to explain. Kwon Duan guessed it was probably what people often called an extremely rare, intelligent creature born in adversity. Knowing the other party possessed intelligence, Kwon Duan also got straight to the "We met before, did we not?" Goo-goo had not expected him to ask this and directly revealed its thoughts. Actually, I have been looking for you. You skinned me back then, but by pure accident you detoxified me. So, I have always wanted to repay you. After hearing this, Kwon Duan's perfect. I need you to help me pick some redwood. The moment it heard there was a chance to repay its Goo-goo instantly performed a medical miracle. At the same time, Janali, who had to look for food, was fleeing like crazy. It turned out the Research Institute had found her through radar. After confirming her identity, he did not hesitate and quickly fired a fireball at Janali. Just as she was about to be swallowed by the fire, Kwon Duan happened to appear and resolve the crisis. It turned out that before this, Goo-goo had sensed that Janali was in danger. So Kwon Duan was able to appear in time, but he had not expected Janali to fear fire this much. When the man saw his good deed had been ruined, he immediately felt annoyed. After sensing that the other party was not he mistakenly thought he was also here to seize this mechanic, so he activated his ultimate move and threw it at him. However, Kwon Duan merely raised his hand lightly, and a massive energy ball appeared above and behind him. Before he could react, the energy ball exploded behind him. The energy produced by the explosion caused countless rocks and sand to fall, instantly burying him beneath them. Looking at Janali waking from her fear, Kwon Duan grabbed the man's hair with one hand while comforting Janali. When you feel afraid, you only need to eliminate fear itself. But when he saw that what he had picked up was only a wig, Kwon Duan froze. What exactly is this guy? Everyone moved closer to look. It turned out he was bald. Looking at that head brighter than a light bulb, Janali could not help bursting into laughter. Her fear from earlier was completely gone, but Kwon Duan did not understand. Janali's strength was clearly above Baldy's, so why had she been chased by him? According to the memories Goo-goo sent through telepathy, since the moment she was born, she had constantly suffered torment from flames. Although emotional wounds would not disappear easily, perhaps this could also count as progress. After that, they hung Baldy over the waterfall. This was Janali's idea, to prevent him from casually breathing, but later they discovered Baldy's instant noodle skills were and the flavor was unprecedentedly delicious, so they decided to keep him as a living chef and promised to teach him how to become a rank hunter. But when asked why he was chasing Janali, he stammered that it was not for the bounty, but for some private reason he could not say. Kwon Duan did not press him either. After that, in order to overcome her fear of fire, Janali proposed sparring with Baldy. Baldy looked smug after hearing this. Have you forgot how I beat you so badly back then? So Kwon Duan had him destroy a nearby stone. After hearing this, Baldy instantly surrendered with that is obsidian. Its hardness is several times that of breaking it would require at least a rank hunter or above. But before he could finish speech, the stone exploded apart. Seeing this, Baldy was shocked, speechless. He could not believe that Janali, whom he had chased around, had destroyed obsidian with one palm. Actually, Baldy was not weak. He was originally a naturally awakened person with extraordinary. Most people only awaken their abilities after adulthood, but he awakened the ability to control fire at the age of 8, and before turning 20, he reached B+ hunter level. Just like that, he once had boundless glory. However, just as his reputation was rising, he encountered a change that no one was willing to face. When he was in his early 20s, his hair began to thin. His hairline was gradually retreating backward. So he began searching everywhere for fame, but in the end, it was all useless. This once handsome, brilliantly talented genius hunter instantly lost all his shine. He was supposed to become captain, but because of this, he was left. However, just as he was lost in despair, a television program once again a glimpse of hope. The program mentioned that liquid metal could help hair grow, but just as he saw hope, he began going mad over how to obtain liquid metal. Fortunately, he saw a mechanical creature bounty notice on his phone and immediately regained his fighting back in the demon realm. Kwon Do-won had already finished the storage while Baldy was still training with Janali. Kwon Do-won had not expected this guy to be so stubborn. He kept losing, but every loss only made him fight. In the end, Janali kicked him straight into the foot of the wall. Janali was no longer afraid of flame while Baldy, pinned beneath the mountain, gave a bitter smile. Am I really only destined to stay in rank hunter category? But he did not plan to give up. He climbed back up again, wanting to try once more. But the next second, blood flowed from his nose. However, this was not from being beaten by Janali because he had been in the demon realm for 9 days. This was the limit for a secret hunter. If he did not return to the human world, he would die from demonic energy corrosion. Although he did not obtain liquid metal nor successfully advance, and unfortunately, Kwon Do-won told him there was still hope of becoming a rank hunter because his magic cave had not yet fully matured and stable, so he had to keep working hard to break through. Just like that, after packing his luggage, Baldy said goodbye to everyone and left, but not long after he left, Gugu raised a question. Will he betray us after he goes back and bring even more hunters here? And we will be finished. But Kwon Do-won did not take it serious. He liked Baldy's honest nature and his desire to become stronger. So if there was a chance in the future, he would still train him. After saying that, he continued renovating the house. Considering it was too dark here at night, he decided to go to the volcano to find lightstone for hunters. The volcano was extremely dangerous and it was also Gugu's hometown. But she did not seem happy about because the volcano's danger level was high. Kwon Do-won decided to go there himself. But when Janali heard they were going to the volcano, she said she was no longer afraid of fire and wanted to go too. Gugu also joined the fuss, insisting on going along, and said she had some private matters to handle there. With no choice, Kwon Do-won had to agree, and casually prepared some climbing equipment. Before long, the group successfully arrived at the volcano in the demon realm. This was one of the 3 places hunters avoided at all costs. Flying volcanic ash would fall onto your skin, and concentrated toxic gas and demonic ant would make every breath deadly. Facing this harsh environment, Gugu was a little worried about those too. But when she saw Janali playing with fire, she dismissed her worries. This girl was a mechanical creature, so it made sense that the environment did not affect. But what is going on with you? Kwon Do-won told her he used to be a Chimera hunter, and after an accidental rebirth, he became what he was now. Speaking of this, Kwon Do-won also asked the question, are you really willing to live together with us? After all, monsters and hunters are enemies. After hearing this, being able to talk with people other than monsters made her truly happy. And she felt Kwon Do-won and the others were not bad. Kwon Do-won breathed a sigh of relief after hearing. Then the group officially began searching for light stones. Light stones usually appeared inside volcanic craters. Although the group found light stones in the crater, there was also a bright red fire toad crouching inside, and it seemed to be crying. Looking carefully, there was also a dead mother toad beside it. It seemed she had died from an accident during migration. On her back, she still carried unhatched toad eggs. But in this high-temperature environment, the toad eggs could not survive at all. Seeing this, Kwon Do-won jumped down without hesitation. But the fire toad thought he had come to steal the eggs, so it attacked without the slightest hesitation. Seeing this, Kwon Do-won merely stretched out one finger and made the fire toad stop. It turned out he had used a venomous snake's paralytic while the toad was unconscious. He took the mother toad eggs from her back and tied them onto the male toad's back. This way it could carry its children out of this fire pit. Before long, the fire toad woke up. After waking up, it discovered it had already been moved onto its own body, and it went forward and rubbed against the mother toad, as if making its final farewell. Finally, after jumping up to the crater, it looked back at the fire pit, as if apologizing and as if taking one last look at its wife. After the fire toad left, the group began collecting light stones. But before they had worked for long, Gugu was already so tired she collapsed. Seeing this, Kwon Do-won told her to rest and go handle her own. Did you not bring gifts for your friends? Hearing this, Gugu instantly blushed. What friends would monsters even have? I do not want to see them. I will just leave the gifts here. I only feel a little regret for leaving without saying goodbye back. Kwon Do-won was a little puzzled. Why did you leave your clan? Gugu explained that having intelligence was a good thing, but the things she did were never understood by her clan. Instead, they only found her strength. That was why she chose to leave the clan. As she spoke, she came across a light stone that could not be pulled out with one bit of force. The light stone fell out on its own. Along with it came a black and yellow egg. It looked like it should be some kind of monster egg. While they were confused, Janali suggested bringing it back with them. Otherwise, if left here, it would be ruined. Kwon Do-won thought it over and agreed. Just like that, they set off on the road home. Not long after they left, several undead birds arrived here. They examined the instant noodles on the ground, but no one expected instant noodles could be so delicious. Started dancing with joy, and before Kwon Do-won and the others returned home. But as soon as they got home, they discovered Baldy had come too. He stepped forward to take the luggage, but the moment he took it, the backpack smashed heavily onto the ground. Kwon Do-won saw many new wounds on his face, so he asked what had happened. Baldy felt a little embarrassed, then used serving the food as an excuse to leave. While waiting for the meal, Kwon Do-won began polishing the light stones. Seeing this, Janali was very confused. Uncle, what are you doing? Kwon Do-won patiently explained. Cutting the light stones and then polishing them would make them brighter and prettier when hung in the house. Hearing this, Janali looked worshipful. Not only did she praise Kwon Do-won for being so, she also said he had a kind heart, just like a father. After hearing this, Kwon Do-won did not forget to tend her father and the coconut tribe doing well. After hearing this, Janali turned around and walked. He is doing fine. Time came to evening. Gugu was lying in the vegetable field bathing in the sunset, but a huge figure blocked the setting sun. The mandrake grass leapt hot and launched a combo attack at Gugu. But in the end, Gugu's belly bounced them away. Just like that, they started fighting. It turned out mandrake grass had a strong sense of territory. It believed Gugu had invaded their turf. That was why they attacked Gugu. Soon, they welcomed dinner time. While eating, Kwon Do-won asked about his face again. Baldy scratched the back of his head and said that when he applied for the exam at the Hunter Association, he was mocked by our rank hunters. They not only mocked him for failing 7 times, they also mocked him as a bald loser. He truly could not hold back, so he hit them. After hearing this, Kwon Do-won asked when his exam was. Baldy said there were still 2 months. Kwon Do-won decided to give him special training. The moment Baldy heard training, his whole body fired up. Little did he know, Kwon Do-won only had him wash dishes and clean the light stones covered in volcanic ash. Although Baldy did not understand, he still chose to do it in order to become stronger. Because he knew, when an expert did this, there had to be a reason. Although everyone thought he was a genius, only he himself knew. He had become a B-rank hunter through bitter effort and hard work. Aside from sincerity and purpose, his body was basically an empty shell. So even though he had failed 7 times, he still possessed all the traits of a good man. After some time passed, Baldy had already finished cleaning the light stones. Kwon Do-won came to his side and asked how far he had gotten in using magic power. After learning it was only average, he took out a long light stone and placed it in Baldy's hand. But the moment Baldy's hand touched the light stone fell to the ground. Baldy was confused. Why can't my hand use any strength? Kwon Do-won explained. Light stones contain dense demonic energy, and the demonic energy of the deed is raw power that has not been refined. So you must use refined magic power to push it. Only then can you use your strength normally. The magic power in your body is already abundant. You simply do not know how to use it. After saying that, he pointed at Baldy's chest, and Baldy's extraordinary meridians were fully open. So he circulated magic power along his next second. Magic power appeared in his hand. Then he bent down and tried to pick up the light stone. However, actually doing it was not as easy as he imagined. He gritted his teeth and worked hard to distribute his magic. In the end, he finally succeeded. He was as happy as a child. As expected, doing chores really is useful. Kwon Do-won nodded and said, "Then I will leave all the dishes and stones to you from now on." Hearing that he could continue training, Baldy's eyes sparkled with gold. Soon, night fell. Everyone was sleeping soundly. However, Gugu, who could not fall asleep no matter what, and because of that, she discovered Janali was walking outside like a drifting ghost. Where was she going? To figure out what was happening, she followed Janali to the riverside and she seemed very anxious. It turned out, Janali blamed herself for always dirtying her clothes. She treasured this outfit very much because Kwon Do-won had given it to her. With no other choice, she could only wash it in the river, and all of this was seen by the two hiding behind a tree. After learning Janali had no clothes to change, Kwon Do-won blamed himself deeply. He had actually never noticed this before. After Janali fiddled around in the river, she finally washed the clothes until they looked bright. Right at this moment, Kwon Do-won and Gugu walked out from the woods, giving Janali quite a fright. To hide the awkwardness, both sides lied that they were taking a walk. Then Kwon Do-won crouched down and tied a rope around Janali's waist, then tucked her favorite flowers at her waist, making her look even cuter. Janali was also as happy as a child. But right in this happy moment, a bristling creature appeared beside them. This was a B-rank monster called a steel spring bug. Regarding this, Kwon Do-won said there was no need to, as long as they ignored it, nothing would happen. After saying that, they turned and left on the road. He also asked Janali if she needed anything such as clothes, shoes. Janali said having this outfit was enough, and that she truly liked it very much. Although Janali said she did not need anything, Kwon Do-won did not take it seriously. So the next day, he wore Baldy-ass clothes and arrived in the human world through the teleportation array. Everyone around looked at him strangely. He had originally wanted to bring Janali along, but he was afraid the scene would stir up and make her scared. By recalling her childhood experience, he remembered there was a shop nearby specializing in children's clothes. He could not quite remember the exact location. Just then, a hand tugged at his sleeve. A child dressed in rags asked if he was looking for a clothing store and said he could lead the way. On the condition of 10,000 won. Kwon Do-won had no small change on him, so he said he would pay after buying clothes and getting change. Hearing this, the child turned his head and sighed. A hunter who cannot even earn 10,000 won really is pitiful. But he had not gotten a customer in a long time, so he decided to trust him anyway. Right after that, the child told Kwon Do-won to follow his steps. But just then, a police car drove over from the side. It turned out some thugs were robbing things not far away. This was already normal in the slums. Just like that, Kwon Do-won was quickly brought to a buy one get one free shop. At this moment, the shop was worrying over having no business. Another day with no customers. She now regretted it a little. Opening a clothing store in the slums. She had considered the problems of the slums before, so she had given up selling adult clothes and switched to children's clothes because adults usually could not bear to spend money. Just then, the clothing store door opened. The moment he entered, the child enthusiastically greeted the shop owner, but the shop owner roared at him instead. "How many times have I told you? I am not married. Do not call me Madam Boss." Kwon Do-won ignored them and looked around as soon as he entered. This was his first time entering a clothing store. While the shop owner was still scolding the child, "Why did you bring a poor ghost here? Does he look like someone with money on him?" Although Kwon Do-won could hear what they were saying, he did not pay any attention and simply picked clothes on his own. However, their argument grew more intense. "You are clearly the one who kept urging me to bring over pitiful hunters whenever I saw them, because the way they looked would remind you of your young dead brother. That was only once. If I kept helping people like you do, how am I supposed to survive?" Just as they were arguing endlessly, Kwon Do-won interrupted them. He took out a bandit with a huge denomination. Looking at the bandit glowing like gold, the two froze, never expecting someone dressed so plainly could actually take out that much money. Seeing that he was a rich man, the shop owner's expression changed faster than June. "Welcome to my clothing store. We have everything from children's clothing to adult clothing here. After learning that Kwon Do-won was buying clothes for a little girl, the shop owner was so happy her jaw nearly fell off, and kept saying he had come to the right place. After that, they began choosing clothes, and before long, a pile of selected clothes had stacked up beside Kwon. When it came time to check out, the shop owner had not expected to sell this much at once. She also said delivery to his door was available, but Kwon Do-won said there was no he could manage himself. After paying, he settled the child's guide fee, and also gave him 2 sets of clothes. Right after that, he made another request, asking him to take him to a clean and tidy hotel. Soon, the two arrived in front of a hotel. He asked the child to wait again, then went inside by himself. Looking at Kwon Do-won as departing back, the child began to worry. Who would be this kind nowadays? Not only paying high guide fee, but also giving him clothes. Could he have run into a human trafficker? But in his heart, he struggled again. What if he really was just a good person? Just like the shop owner, while he was still unable to figure it out. Kwon Do-won had already come out from inside. It really is just like you said. The environment inside is very clean and tidy, and it even has a cafeteria. After saying that, he handed the child a key. Take this. I saw you have been sleeping on the streets. From now on, you can live here. I have already prepaid 1 year of rent and meal fees. The child lowered his head after hearing. Although he felt very moved, and he still remained cautious. After all, this was only their first meeting. He was afraid of being kidnapped. In the end, he could not help asking, "Why are you being so good to me? What is your purpose?" After hearing this, Kwon Do-won turned back and said, "Because I saw my former self in you." In the blink of an eye, Kwon Do-won returned to the demon realm. Looking at an entire sack of new clothes, Janali smiled so wide her eyes disappeared, while Baldy on the other side was the complete opposite, because not a single piece of clothing in there was his. But just then, the egg placed inside the house seemed to make a sound, yet Kwon Do-won, completely unaware of this, was still immersed in folding clothes. Janali also came out after trying on clothes. She thought this outfit was her favorite, but she still wanted to try a few more. Next, either the jeans were too tight, or the top was too big. In the end, she chose one set with a pattern she thought looked a lot like Gugu. But Gugu thought it looked nothing alike. However, they soon realized there was no spare space in the house to pile clothes, so Kwon Do-won came up with the idea of expanding the house, but Gugu felt this would require a lot of wood. Kwon Do-won said there was no need to worry, someone would naturally chop the wood, so he called Baldy over. The moment Baldy heard there was a chance to train, he looked especially energetic. In order to please this good master of his, he had even washed the clothes Kwon Do-won took off before going to the human world until they were spotless. "This leather outfit must be your training clothes, right? It has been soaked in an extremely powerful poison. I touched it without thinking, and almost lost my life. This must be your unique training method. It can make you stronger, and push your limits to the extreme. No wonder you always wear it." After hearing this, Kwon Do-won said, "That is only because I was too lazy to wash." Baldy was dumbfounded after hearing, but before he could react, Kwon Do-won told him to wear this poisonous outfit and go chop wood. Gugu at the side also said she could help choose the timber. But after hearing this, Baldy began sweating buckets. He did not know why he suddenly had to chop wood, and even had to wear this outfit. He was afraid he would be poisoned to death by the toxins on. But just then, Janali shouted from the window that something was wrong with the egg. When everyone came back to look, the egg only seemed to be showing signs of hatching. Baldy was worried there would be problems if it hatched here. He feared what hatched might be a disaster-level demon, while Janali declared she was willing to guarantee it on her robot it would definitely hatch into a very cute little thing. Just as the two were arguing endlessly, the eggshell cracked. A golden claw stretched up from inside. Along with it came a golden tail. That was not all. When its head emerged, there was also a long tongue waving elegantly in the air. When they finally saw its full appearance, the two at the side froze stiff. What on earth is this thing? Not quite a chicken, not quite a snake, but before the two could recover, the little thing jumped out of the pit. Everyone was startled upon seeing this, but the next second, the little thing landed on Baldy's face. Immediately, Baldy's scream echoed through the entire house. The next day, Baldy was working hard to carry wood, but the toxic fumes on the clothes made it hard for him to breathe. He really could not understand how Kwon Do-won could wear it and move around so freely. At the same time, Kwon Do-won had also finished folding all the clothes. Janali found him at that moment. It turned out she wanted to give the little thing a name. Won-Duan thought since it was related to snakes, they should call it Shash, but in one careless moment, Shasha suddenly rushed out at high speed. No one knew what had happened. Janali anxiously chased after it too. At this moment, Gugu seemed to think of something. If it really is a monster from the volcanic region, then we need to check on those mandrake grass. Most monsters from the volcanic region treat plant-type monsters as delicious delicacy. Because plant resources are scarce there, they eat whatever they see. And they especially love plants with powerful magical energy. It must have smelled the magical energy coming from the mandrake grass. Strictly speaking, it should be the natural enemy of mandrake grass. After she said that, Shasha had already found the mandrake grass. It looked at the mandrake grass with a wicked grin, and when the mandrake grass saw it, they also entered alert mode. At this moment, Kwon-Duan's group also arrived here. Seeing this, Janali wanted to step forward and Kwon-Duan felt that this was, after all, demon territory, so establishing the pecking order was still necessary. Besides, Shasha was still there should not be any danger, so they decided to observe first. Back to the battle screen. Both sides had taken their stances. Shasha seized the timing and launched the first attack. Unfortunately, the mandrake grass blocked it with a stick. The mandrake grass behind also seized the chance and charged forward in one swift step, swinging its stick straight at Shasha's vital spot. But Shasha was no pushover either. It quickly blocked with its tail, but its current situation did not look too good. Because right now, aside from standing on one leg, it could not do anything else. At this moment, the last mandrake grass also rushed forward and threw a serious punch straight at Shasha. Shasha could not dodge, and took the punch head-on. It cried, tears streaming down uncontrollably. After all, this was the first pain it had felt since hatching. Then it turned and left. As if it had made some kind of decision, Janali quickly chased after it. This epic level battle left Baldy and the others watching in a daze. A few days later, the house they were expanding was finally nearing completion. Baldy was responsible for carrying, Gugu was responsible for supervising, Janali was responsible for spreading the mucus, and Shasha was only responsible for being the map. Of course, Kwon-Duan was not idle either. He was responsible for arranging. Everyone had their own division of labor, and everything worked together smoothly. Finally, the house was completed. Baldy took off the poisonous clothes on his body, releasing all the suffering piled up over these. After not having slept for 2 days, he finally welcomed liberation. For the sake of his house, he endured the torment of toxic fumes and sweat every day, but this also earned Kwon-Duan's praise. At this moment, a floral fragrance drifted through. The group sank into an ocean of fragrance, and their fatigue instantly vanished. It turned out the scent came from the new house. Thanks to the aromatic wood Gugu had selected, whether it was the mandrake grass or Shasha, they all seemed to love the smell. However, once Shasha was mentioned, everyone suddenly felt inspired to give Shasha a new name. Baldy suggested calling her Snake. Janali suggested calling her Petty. But Kwon-Duan either felt they sounded tacky or thought they sounded like names for a pig. Speaking of names, Gugu also said she used to have a proper, serious name. She said her real name was Liuoji Madishan. Kwon-Duan said this name was way too tacky. So in the end, Shasha still failed to get renamed. After that, Gugu felt that since the house was already built, should they not also start a new plan? Kwon-Duan felt that made sense too. When he first came to the demon realm, he had been alone, and felt living one day at a time was enough, so he never made any plans. But now it was different. After thinking it, he decided to build a fence around the house. This way, even if he went out one day and was not home, monsters or other hunters would not be able to enter. The moment he heard there would be construction, Baldy immediately said no one would come here. However, Kwon-Duan did not think so. He felt no one could predict the future, so taking precautions was still very necessary. After hearing this, immediately thought the coastal region had large amounts of quartz material. Quartz stone is a material sturdier than black stone. It gives off a golden glow, and it also contains a large amount of energy. After hearing this, Kwon-Duan already had an idea in mind. If we use that material to build a fence and embed some glowing stones at the bottom, it will definitely look beautiful. And at night, this place will have a very pleasant camping atmosphere. Janali became excited the moment she heard they were going to, while Baldy was so frightened he spat out his water. Because in his understanding, that was a forbidden place for hunters, because there were 2 disaster-level monsters there. It was said they were Chimera hunters who had once escaped from the research. Only their faces looked like birds while the rest of their bodies kept a human form. After that, he said magic power in his body had already reached and he needed to return to the human world for purification. Kwon Do-won did not force him. He only told him that if they came back late, he should take good care of the mandrake grass. Meanwhile, in a coastal region, the monster Baldy mentioned flew across the sky. A hunter formed a ring of light in his hand, then threw it hard in the monster's direction. As a star-shaped flash appeared, the ring of light successfully hit the monster. The hunter suggested chasing it now, but the captain opposed it. There are two of them, but right now we have only seen one. We wait until they return to their hiding place before taking it. Besides, the tracker has already hit. They cannot run away, but 60 years have already passed. How are they still alive? Or have they already completely turned it into monsters? But why? And they still maintain a human mindset, although they are failed experiments. No matter what the outside world says, Chimera hunters are the research institute's greatest invention, so we cannot let these failures taint this great invention. Let us settle this today. But just as he finished speaking, Hunter discovered through the binoculars that guy had not run away. Instead, it was charging toward the hunter. Captain urgently ordered the defense barrier to be up. A defense barrier raised by only 2 people was not worth mentioning before the monster. Seeing the monster's sharp claw about to reach him, the hunter captain knelt helplessly on the ground. At this critical moment, Janali rushed out just in time, forcing the monster to switch from attack to defense. After both sides landed, Janali scolded the monster for hurting, but just then, the hunter behind her reported to the captain with a locator, saying there was a mechanical creature here. Seeing this, Kwon Do-won held the hot-tempered Janali and persuaded the hunters to leave. Kwon Do-won discovered the monster before him looked somewhat familiar. The monster felt the same way about him. Just like that, memories of the past gradually surfaced. It turned out they were partners at the Savior Research Institute. His name was Yubam. The 2 of them were once sent together onto the operating table to undergo. However, Kwon Do-won did not suffer side effects. While his head turned into that of a bird, he also had a younger sister named Jia. To stop his sister from suffering more experiments, he decided to escape the research institute. In a dark night, he carried his sister and ran at full speed. Just as he was about to run out of the forest, a beam of light blocked his path. The person who came was the young Kwon Do-won. He stood in front holding a flashlight. He said there was news he needed to tell him. Today, he had heard in the laboratory, the researchers say Yubam's side effects were severe, and he would soon be repatriated. After hearing this, Yubam said he was like a psychiatrist. Even facing such a terrible situation, he could still stay so calm. But Kwon Do-won thought, escaping did not necessarily mean survive. At least here, they would not starve. And if you do not return within 3 days, the self-destruct spell will kill you. It seems your sister has not been assigned experiments yet either. Why not stay in the laboratory? That way you could still take medicine to suppress the side effects. Maybe you could even live a little longer. Yubam said he could never understand their pain, because he had no side effects and had never felt the splitting headache caused by them. He only wanted to live freely like before. Even if it was only for 1 day. He said goodnight to his dear sister and took a fighting stance. No need for extra words. Come at me. But the next second, a portal appeared behind Kwon Do-won. Yubam could not believe it. He had actually come to help him. It turned out Kwon Do-won knew they had self-destruct commands in their heads. Only by escaping to the demon would the commands fail. And escaping to the demon realm would lead to 2 possibilities. Either the human cells in your body would be invaded by demonic energy, or the monster cell would absorb the demonic energy and activate. If what you said just now was serious, this seems like the better choice. Even if you cannot overcome the demonic energy and turn into before that happens, you can still live freely. As for whether you can survive in the demon realm, that depends on you. In theory, you only need to accumulate enough magic power to protect your body and mind from the invasion of demonic energy. With your current strength, it definitely will not be easy, but what will happen in the future, who knows? Right, just as he finished speaking, the search team had already found this place. Although I do not know why you are helping me, at least please tell me your name. It turned out that although they had been roommates for years, they did not know each other's names. Because in the institute, they only had code names. Perhaps the memory was too moving, so much so that Kwon Do-won could not tell memory from reality. He actually shouted his own name out loud in the coastal region. This left everyone completely confused. After that, Kwon Do-won sent the human hunters away and used the forget-me-not grass cells in his body to erase 3 hours of memory from the hunters. Yubum had not expected someone would still remember him, but at this moment, Janali tugged on Kwon Do-won's sleeve. "Are you and that sparrow uncle really friends?" After hearing this, Kwon Do-won did not forget to tease. Yes, he comes from the sparrow tribe. Is the sparrow tribe not an ally of the coconut tribe? Every time Janali heard this kind of question, she closed. Of course. We're allies. Hearing this, Yubum looked completely bewildered. Janali also apologized for her rashness earlier, then said she was hungry. So Kwon Do-won asked Yubum whether there was any food at his home. At this moment, Yubum was still confused. He completely could not understand what they were saying and even mistook them for father and daughter. Before long, they arrived at Yubum's home. It was a bird nest that looked exactly like a nest, and soon Yubum served the food. It was a plate of roasted jelly and it looked rather delicious. The moment they tasted it, they felt like they were floating in the sky. With every bite they chewed, the jelly seemed to sway and dance along. Kwon Do-won had not expected that adding red lichen to the dish would make it taste so wonderful. Yubum told him red lichen was a multifunctional seasoning. But just as he finished speaking, a pained look appeared on his face. His expression turned serious and his whole body began trembling. Kwon Do-won seemed to notice something different too, but he did not expose it. Just then, Janali ran over and said she wanted more roasted jelly, but the ingredients had already run out. Yubum also felt very embarrassed, but Janali said she could go catch the ingredients. Just like that, they bounced happily toward the seaside. On the beach, the two began having a heart-to-heart. "I never thought you could revive through undead cells. You really are different. Do you plan to take revenge on me instead?" "I have thought about it, but I feel my life now is not bad. So for now, I do not have that intention." "What about you? Have you ever thought about revenge?" Yubum, who was asked in return, looked a little hopeless. "When you revive, all the spells on your body disappear, but the self-destruct commands still remain inside. As soon as we return to the human world, we will explode, so that is simply impossible." After that, Kwon Do-won asked about his head. "Since you can control your wings now, why can your head still not return to normal?" Regarding this, Yubum said, although he could change it back, he could not, because his younger sister Jia's head had also turned into a bird. If he turned his own head back to human, then she would feel sad for being different. After hearing this, Kwon Do-won instantly understood everything. Then he asked about Yubum's physical condition. It turned out he could tell Yubum did not have much time left. After asking, when they first arrived here, life was extremely difficult. In order to survive, he desperately endured all kinds of. Finally, one day, he felt his magic power and demonic energy had reached balance. It was also thanks to that he was able to live peacefully for a very long time. But not long ago, for some unknown reason, Jia's magic system developed a problem. Her demonic energy began going out of control, so he tried to forcibly open it for her, but during the process, he accidentally his own magic system. I tried to repair it, but Jia has been eating fruit with hypnotic effects and has already slept for some time. She is deliberately keeping herself unconscious to slow down the raging demonic energy. At this moment, Kwon Do-won suddenly thought of the mandrake grass. Potion made from mandrake grass had miraculous effects in repairing magic. Meanwhile, on the other side, the fruit containing hypnotic toxins had already stopped working. She uncontrollably roared in self-torment. These were precious materials worth a building downtown, but the man handed them over without hesitation, just to exchange for 2 bottles of Evian-like pure. It turned out this purified water had life-saving. It was refined from the roots of mandrake grass. Although their tiny roots did not look remarkable from the outside, in reality, however, they absorbed miraculous energy from underground and developed into new reproductive individuals. They were sources of life energy. This was why purified water refined from high-quality roots had excellent effects on restoring damaged magic power. When Yubum heard purified water could save their lives, he could not wait to know how to obtain it. Kwon Do-won told him this required returning to the human world and finding an alchemist to refute. The self-destruct command still remained in his head, so naturally he could not go back. So Kwon Do-won decided to go back himself and ask Yubum to help take care of his friends. He had spent all his money buying clothes last time, and now he had no money left. Fortunately, Yubum had collected some rare treasure and strange items in the coastal region. After giving a few instructions, Kwon Do-won set off As soon as he reached the human, he found the little boy from last time. The boy's name was Obangso, and he had already become Kwanduan's exclusive guide. You want to find a spell in alchemy that can awaken the soul? Yes, so I need help from someone experienced. He seemed very confident because last year, a branch of the Alchemy Association opened in the slums. Going there would surely bring some results. While they were talking, Kwanduan noticed Bangso had sandbags tied to his wrist. After asking, he learned he was currently training his stamina. He wanted to become as strong as Kwanduan. Because in his eyes, Kwanduan was the kind of person who could step into demon territory without a scratch. That was something only an outstanding hunter could accomplish. So he hoped he could become that strong, too. Ever since they parted last time, he had started eating a lot and training like crazy. Kwanduan also felt he was a little taller this time. Perhaps it was because he had grown up before long. They arrived at the Alchemy Association, but as soon as they reached they discovered Manager Jean was right nearby. He seemed to be on the phone. Seeing how cautious he looked, Bangsa guessed at once that loan sharks were collecting debt. Using loans in this community was very common. It turned out he had worked at the Golden City branch for 20 years but had recently been demoted and transferred here, so his salary had also been greatly reduced. After hearing this, someone who got demoted must have done something wrong. But Bangsua did not think so. As far as I know, when Manager Jean was still in Galta City, one supervisor in the organization had been secretly embedded relief funds. That man was director and he was famous for doing all kinds of nasty things, like stealing his subordinates' achievements and so on. Manager Jean was demoted because he reported the matter, and director and retaliated. After finishing the call, Manager Jean looked listless, but when he heard Bainsa call him, he suddenly smiled. After briefly explaining the reason, Bainsa left on the excuse of training. Kwanduan was also brought to the laboratory by Manager. As soon as he entered, he got straight to the point. You are a first-rate alchemist, right? Can you refine purified water from mandrake grass? After hearing this, Jin pushed up his glass. Mandrake grass in the slums. Stop talking nonsense. Although I can do it, we do not have such precious materials here. But before he could finish speaking, Kwanduan took out 2 mandrake grass roots, and they seemed to contain dense magical energy. These are definitely fine roots of mandrake grass. Judging by the cut, they look freshly harvested. Neither of them could believe this was real. Then Kwanduan took out his backpack. As for the fee, use these coastal specialty products as payment instead. Please help me evaluate the value of these items. Looking at the table full of rare material, Manager Jing could not believe he had really gone to the coastal region. This was an SG Black Pearl even headquarters had never seen, and there were actually 3 of them. This was a giant jelly from demon territory, and it was still alive. This was red lichen, a core ingredient for high-grade potions, a super rare item only recently discovered. Seeing their shocked expressions, Kwanduan anxiously asked, "Are these not enough for the production fee?" After hearing this, Manager Jin denied it again and again. These are enough to buy an entire bill, but the assistant besides still did not quite believe. How could someone take out this much at once? Rare material. So he suggested going to the lab to get evaluation equipment, thinking that would be the safest approach. But just then, Kwanduan glanced at the soaking tank nearby. Did you not say there was no mandrake grass? Manager Jean hurriedly explained. That one has been dead for about 10 years. Its medicinal effect disappeared long ago. I kept it only because I am interested in researching mandrake grass. But Kwanduan discovered that this mandrake grass seemed to still be alive. He tried sending some magic power into it. Sure enough, the mandrake grass reacted. Manager Jean was also frightened by this, so its magical energy had been exhausted. Right now, it could barely maintain its life. Just as Kwanduan was about to send it more magic power, a group of people walked in. Manager Jan, how have you been lately? The person who came was director, and the moment he entered, he looked around, then started mocking everything. The slums really are the slums. Even the office is this shabby. Manager Jean wondered why this guy had come. But before he could ask, director and looked at the rare materials on the table. So someone really did bring precious materials. Seeing this, Mana guessed that the assistant from earlier had informed him. He had not expected him to arrive so quick. It must have the twin teleportation adept beside him who brought him over. Then he looked toward Kwanduan. You are the one who brought these items. So what? Kwanduan gave him no pleasant expression. Then he began introducing himself. I am Dr. Njijin from the Golden City branch. Come with me to Golden City. I will treat you well. Seeing Kwon Do-won did not receive, he raised the offer again. In this remote place, you simply cannot get a reasonable price. If you sign an exclusive contract, there will not only be a signing bonus, but also tax benefit. At this moment, Kwon Do-won felt the mole on his nose looked familiar. Is that thing beside your nose grease? What is your relationship with Ambert? It turned out director and was the grandson of award winner Ambert. Ambert, what a terrifying memory. An experimental madman who never treated humans. Thinking of this, Kwon Do-won was furious beyond words. He harshly suppressed director and enforced him to kneel. Are you the same kind of person as your grandfather, abusing power to exploit others, taking whatever you want as you please? You had better answer my question properly now. The TD Research Institute, is he still there? Director and was completely confused after he had no idea what the TD Research Institute was. Seeing the other party refuse, Kwon Do-won continued applying pressure. You really do not know that illegal Chimera Research Institute. Ambert once served there as a senior researcher. Manager Jin beside them was trembling in fear. Are they saying Dr. Ambert, winner of the Peace Prize, worked at an illegal research organization? Although he was trembling under suppression, Director N still could not tolerate others insulting his do not insult the deceased. My grandfather devoted his life to university research and nurturing future generations. Even after retirement, he donated all of his wealth to the families of accident victims and received the Peace Prize because of it. Kwon Do-won did not care about that at all. All of that was built on the condition that he killed countless children behind the scenes. I thought he would live a little longer. After all, he was good at inspiring others, but he died earlier than expected. Probably because of the after effects from falling out a window. He turned kidnapped children into chimeras and threatened to push them into the abyss. So I pushed him. Now I will give you a chance. Go back and investigate a doctor named Ambert in the T Research Institute. I will come find you again. Kwon Do-won had not expected he would meet Ambert's grandson here. The first time he entered the Chimera Creature Laboratory, he was only 9 years old, and from that he gradually became a strange Chimera hunter, and it was also from then on that his memories began to grow blurry, like a world where civilization had vanished. He lost his self-awareness. If not for this accident, he might have turned into a monster that only obeyed orders. As for Director, I knew nothing about the TDR Research Institute. Perhaps it was because the institute's name had already changed several times. As he kept thinking, Manager Jin had already come out of the holding the refined purified water. This was water refined from mandrake grass. Kwon Do-won was also surprised. It had only taken him about 30 minutes to finish. Manager Jin explained that it was because the materials were quite good. No problems occurred during the refining process, so a lot of time was saved. After that, Manager Jin said he would help him handle the remaining material. This gave Kwon Do-won a good impression of him. So he gave all the remaining materials to him and wanted to cooperate with him long term. He would provide the materials, and Manager Jin would handle the refining. When Manager Jin heard that all the remaining materials would be instantly burst into tears. Those were worth an entire building. Manager Jin was born and raised in the slums. During his childhood, his parents had taken out loan shark debt. He promised to repay his parents' debts, but no matter how hard he worked, he could not improve his life at all. He did not know how to repay this kindness. After hearing this, Kwon Do-won told him not to. There would be many things he needed him to do and told him to prepare himself. Meanwhile, on the other side, Jia went berserk because she could not control her demons. She no longer recognized and had lost all to fulfill his promise to protect Kwon Do-won's friends. He could only stop her while taking the beating. But he was soon beaten down by Jia and collapsed to the ground. Relying on his promise to an old friend, he stood up once again. He knew this could not continue. He had to stop his crazed younger sister. So he gathered his strength and charged Jia. In the next life, you must be happy. Just as the two were about to collide, Kwon Do-won descended from the sky riding a giant jellyfish and pinned Jia underneath. Looking at his sister who had been smashed, Yubam felt heartbroken. Hey, she is my younger sister. She is a girl. Seeing this, Kwon Do-won said, aside from this, did you have any other way? Yubam knew he was in the wrong after hearing this, so he changed the subject and asked if he got the medicine. After hearing this, Kwon Do-won took out 2 green bottles, 1 bottle for each of you. But it needs coaxing. Jia fell into a deep sleep. She slept facing Janali. But Jia who woke for saw a stranger sleeping across from her, and suspected she was dreaming, but she looked outside, and found her brother sitting with another stranger. She instantly panicked and screamed, "Who are you people?" The scream woke Janali sleeping nearby. When Yubam heard his sister was awake, he told her to check her magic system. My magic system. After hearing this, not only did she find her magic power, her face had also recovered. She did not understand what was happening. Brother, what happened? Who are these people? Yubam had not expected her to fail to recognize the person. Do you not know who this is? You said many times that you wanted to meet him. Hearing this, Chia could hardly believe it. Do not tell me he is number 17. She kept clinging to Yubam. Is he really number 17? Yubam explained everything to her in detail. Yes, this time he saved us again. At this moment, Quan Duan, who was grilling fish, "Do you have any red lichen left?" Yubam said they had used it all today. After Chia heard the explanation, she took off her mask and smiled brightly. "Thank you for saving us again." But just as she finished speaking, the sea behind her gave off a golden glow. Janali looked at it with confusion. She did not know what it was either. She only thought it was beautiful. She had told her it was a sea spirit. It was originally a kind of horse monster living in the deep sea. Sea spirit was the name we gave it, because when it plays in the sea, it looks just like a fairy. At night it floats to the surface to play, and when the sun rises, it returns home. If you follow it, you can see yellow quartz. The moment he heard quartz, Quan Duan remembered he had originally come to find it. Looks like he had been so busy he completely forgot. So he asked, "How much time is left before sunrise?" Yubam answered, "It is almost here." Quan Duan sighed emotionally after hearing that he had not gone swimming in a very long time. Meanwhile, the research institute was worrying over having no trace of the mechanical creature. They even held an emergency meeting for this. About 10 B-rank hunters had spotted it many times in the area, but none managed to capture it. Currently, it seems to be hiding somewhere in the coastal region. Recently, your rank hunters who went to the coastal region all returned with memory lost. They said the mechanical creature's location information was still saved on their tracking devices. Just then, Director in call. "Have you heard of the TDA Research Institute?" It was clearly just a tiny horse, yet with one light stomp, it made the earth tremble, and even sent all the high-ranking hunters present flying away. Actually, a silver new type mandrake grass had arrived here. This was a new type made from liquid metal mixed with wild mandrake grass, Chimera, and it had extremely powerful sensing ability, allowing it to easily find related species. The wild mandrake grass already living here mistook them for invading its territory, and that was why conflict broke out. Just now, Director in called Han Mingdu. "Have you ever heard of a place called the TD Research Laboratory?" "Never heard of it," Han Mingdu answered firmly. But in his heart, he knew very clearly that it was an illegal laboratory that had closed long ago. He did not know why Director and suddenly asked about it. To be safe, he began making excuses and brought the Handit Research Institute is not that kind of research organization, and that is not the path I wish to take either, because Professor Anwer always warned us to be upright and honest researchers and seek welfare for humanity. I, Han Mingdu, have never forgotten my teacher's teaching. I have always walked the path my teacher hoped for. After saying that, he revealed a meaningful smile. After hanging up the phone, he once again sank into deep thought. He could not understand why an unrecorded, illegal laboratory would have such a name, and why it came from that man's grandson. Of all people, just as he could not figure it out, a crisp knock sounded from the meeting room. It worked. A researcher happily carried a box and pushed the door open. Han Mingdu quickly walked over after hearing this, repeatedly asking if it was true. It turned they were researching a new chimera material, using mandrake grass's extreme strong sense of kinship and liquid metal's powerful cohesion. Combining them together gave birth to a liquid metal mandrake with extremely strong perception. Judging by the result after combining them, it was very good. After seeing the finished product, Han Mingdu he immediately ordered the bounty to be tripled and issued a notice recruiting ranked hunters, because a chimera made by combining these two rare materials would be stronger than any tracking device. This way, they could find a mechanical creature faster. This was his life's masterpiece. He had to get it back. The scene shifted to the other side. Yubum was quietly watching the sea. He did not understand why Kwon Do-won wanted quartz stones, nor did he know what he should do from now on. He remembered the conversation from last night. Kwon Do-won invited him to visit his home, and even said he had a chef who cooked very well, though he was bald. Yubum immediately felt something was. He clearly knew Yubum could not return to the human world, yet he still invited him over as a guest. Could this guy be living in the demon realm? Kwon Do-won's smile had already given him the answer. He thought that once one got used to it, this place was actually not bad. But for Yubum, he desperately wanted to go, he could not. So he could not understand Kwon Do-won's actions. Kwon Do-won explained it was because he had unpleasant memory in the human world. He himself did not know why he had slowly become like this. After saying that, he mentioned that he had a way to clear the commands in his mind. Yubum looked utterly shocked after hearing this. Is this guy omnipotent? It turned out he was referring to manager. He was an outstanding alchemist. The purified water had been made by him. He was quite capable, and Kwon Do-won was also considering having him research, so he told Yubum to think it through carefully. After all, not going and being were very different things. But he should not get his hopes too high either. After hearing this, Yubum fell into deep thought. He did not understand why the other man kept helping him and asked for nothing in return. He had never done anything for him either. After thinking for a long time, he still chose to ask, but Kwon Do-won only raised his head and looked at the stars. Nothing much, just looking at you two siblings makes me imagine some things. Is there really any meaning in this world? Is it only for survival? What could be more important than survival? So I want to help you. Maybe it will help me find the answer. Just like that, Yubum stared at the calm sea and thought for a long time. Finally, movement appeared on the sea surface. Chia leapt out of the sea carrying a rope. Then, brother, for those who had lived in the demon realm for years, these seemingly complicated skills were nothing but child's play. Yubum caught the rope and slowly pulled it back, but he clearly felt it was heavy. Just how much did they dig up? As time slowly passed, a huge net was pulled out of the water. Seeing this, Yubum was in utter disbelief. Did this guy empty out the entire seabed? At this moment, Kwon Do-won, the other one, also surfaced. His face was full of enjoyment and satisfaction. That really was fun. It has been too long since I swam. Shinali also said she had a wonderful time. The world under the sea was beautiful. She felt like a fish, swimming freely through the water, and the sea spirit's home was especially cozy, golden and sparkling brightly. So she wanted to come again next time. Kwon Do-won had exactly the same idea, but for now, they had to go back first, but then they discovered a big problem. With this much quartz, how were they supposed to bring it back to the Kwon Do-won felt a little guilty. Before coming here, he had never even thought about this problem. Just as he was racking his brain, a giant parrot flew over his head. This kind of large parrot usually lived in flocks. So why had it appeared here alone? Seeing this, Janali, who had never seen the world, waved her arms and legs and is that parrot? It looks so cute. But Chia did not think so. It only looks pretty from far away. If you look at it up close, you will definitely change your mind. They are over 4 meters long and have extremely bad tempers. Seeing Kwon Do-won's smiling face, Yubum instantly had a bad view. Not tell me you were planning. At the same time, back home, Baldy was meditating and circulating as a mandrake grass beside him did not dare make a single sound. Afraid of disturbing Baldy's cultive as the magic power in his dancing grew thicker, he felt becoming an ranked hunter was no longer a dream. Just as he was feeling happy about this, a silver mandrake grass walked up behind him. This was the new Chimera product, the liquid metal mandrake grass, and its expression seemed a little unpleasant. Baldy had never seen this thing before. He was so scared he shouted wildly without a shred of hunter dignity. But the next second, the silver mandrake grass was kit. Hey! Do not make such a serious face, or I will melt you down. But just after he teased the silver mandrake grass, he noticed something was wrong. Is that not that guy? Who else went bald at such a young age besides him? The yellow-haired man's companions echoed along. Why are you dressed like a caveman? Do not tell me you became a savage here. They recognized Baldy. After hearing this, Baldy covered his bald head. Damn it, they were the ones who mocked him. Just then, the mandrake grass in the field stood in front. Seeing that it was wild mandrake grass, the hunters began whispering again. Wild mandrake grass, and there are 3 of them. How much would that be worth? The yellow-haired man walked up to the mandrake grass and cried, "Are you angry because we invaded your territory?" "All right, do not be angry. Come here. Good boy." The yellow-haired man tried to coax the mandrake grass, and seeing these despicable tricks, Aldi could not bear it anymore. He had to protect the things Big Bro truly cherished, but before he could act, the mandrake grass stomped its foot, and everyone was sent flying. Panicked cries came from the dust. What happened? Was that an earthquake? The shock even affected Yubum and his sister far away. Meanwhile, Kwon Do was riding a large